Carson Beck is going to start for the Georgia Bulldogs in 2023. Not surprising at all. This is something we thought was, coming on the way, whatever you want to call it, and it's here now. And I think that this is if you talk to people at Georgia or insiders, whatever you want to call it, insiders, this was coming. I don't think this is any sort of surprise for the general public. We got Matt Stinchcomb on SEC Live or Nation, whatever it's called now, SEC now, doing winks at the camera about the starting quarterback. I mean, everybody knew that this was coming, so it's not really shocking. What does it mean? The most talented quarterback of Georgia is going to be the starting quarterback, and the guy who was, really not ready to go. I don't think in 20 and 21. It's a very different situation now. I mean, you're talking about 2 years later. And one of the biggest things I remember, in talking with Carson was after G Day. He just was so relaxed. He was very confident, and I think that we're going to see just what he can do as a starting quarterback. I mean, if it's like he played in 2022, that's going to be really good, and he may wind up in New York as a Heisman Trophy candidate. I don't think that there should be sort of limitations put on what can or will happen with Carson Beck as a quarterback. So many people put limitations on what they thought could happen with Stetson Bennett, even days before the Michigan game, days before the Alabama game, and the first Alabama game, the most recent Alabama game, the national championship game. Look, this coaching staff sees these guys all the time. They don't need fan assurances of what's happening. I mean, they're going to put the best players out there to win, period. And they've shown over time that they can develop the best players. Carson Beck is a great example of that. Hey, make sure you're taking advantage of this opportunity. I don't have the books with me, but you can get the 2023 preview from Dog Post for free when you order. The link is down below. This is all we got is when you order the website, we're going to give you the magazine, a free t-shirt, and any item from Red Zone 20% off. A lot of people have already taken advantage of this. You need to take advantage of this now. In addition, if you order double dogs, I will give you a month for free. But take advantage. We are getting to the point where we're going to run out of these. I know we're going to be out by the end of the month. Okay, I just know we are. And, take advantage of this while you can. I've got a What We Were Hearing coming out later this week. Legge's Toss is going to be on the site. Well, by the time you see this, it will be on the site. So you're going to want all that insider information, all that. Don't miss out on this. It's a great deal, and the deal is running out. So you've been warned. I remember visiting with Carson in 2019 at Mandarin. He was, young, 17, maybe even 16 at the time, and he was sort of quiet in a way, which is fine. I went down there 2 or 3 times, whatever it was, and I think he had to grow up. I mean, I just think that was really all it was, is that he had skill the whole time. But having skill and knowing how to be the person in position to be the starting quarterback, or the person that's in the position of being the starting quarterback, those are not the same thing. Those are not the same thing at all. And so much of playing sports is understanding how to do what you're supposed to do, not just having the ability to do it. I mean, we watch so many guys play. It's tough being a quarterback. I mean, it's a really, you're in the spotlight all the time. You're the one that if something goes wrong, you get the blame. You're over celebrated and over blamed. It's all of that. My suspicion, though, is that this if the season goes like the fall, Georgia will not have to worry about how good Carson Beck is specifically. Like many times in 2021, 2017, and 18, they didn't have to worry about how great the quarterback was. The quarterback was not necessarily the reason they got to the playoff. But the reason why they won it in 21 and 22 and they didn't in 17 is that the quarterback play in the national championship games was either spectacular or really great in the fourth quarter. And Jake Fromm was arrived at that moment as an 18-year-old or whatever he was as a freshman. Carson Beck's not in that position anymore. Carson's played in a national championship game. He's played against Oregon. He's played against South Carolina, Auburn, Vanderbilt. He's played against Georgia Tech. He's played in big games at Georgia. I do know from talking with him from back in the day that when he gets to play in Jacksonville, his hometown, that will be a big, big deal for him. But how have we gotten to this point? We've gotten here because he's done all the stuff, and Brock and Gunner are doing this now. He's done all the stuff you had to do to be in position to take advantage of what he's got, which are his skills. This hasn't been him, you know, he didn't have to take the path that Stetson had. He didn't have Matthew's path. He doesn't have Aaron's path. All these guys have different ways of becoming who they are, for lack of a better term. I think Carson should have kept more of his hair, but that's me. I'm glad he didn't grow a mustache like some people I know, Stetson Bennett. But he's arrived at his moment, and now this next 6 months will really be an important time for his future. You know, um, but he's not the way that he used to be. I mean, he's not my friend, right? But it's pretty clear, not just from what he said, but from people that know him that I know have said, that he has grown up. And honestly, it's hard to compare your freshman year in college when you were a pure idiot or close to that to your, final year in college or your senior year in college or your fourth year in college where you're not a pure idiot, but you're sort of half an idiot. Things change. And this is not about Stetson, excuse me, not about Carson. I can't even get his name right. But what I mean to say is, and this next statement is, freshman, when you're a freshman at Georgia, you're trying to go to Bourbon. You're trying to get into, Sandbar and all these places, when you're a junior or senior, like that was cool, I guess. But like after a while, how many times you gotta go to the bar underage? How many times, allegedly, how many times do you have to, um, you know, not eat right? How many times do what the skill of playing at Georgia or Bama or Ohio State or others, can you lift the right way and do it the right way every single time so that when you're lifting, you're growing from that. You're not just lifting. Like you're going towards something. How much are you working out that's productive? Like when you're throwing, you're not just going out there to throw and like see how hard can I throw this ball? I mean, all workouts are not created equally. And in addition, all workouts don't have to be that you had your best workout ever. It can be that you're, man, I just got to get this one thing right, or I'm not comfortable right now. I don't want to do this. Or, my guy doesn't feel good. Like let's, like he's not on to, or let's keep going what we got going. It's the maturity to understand all that stuff. See, that's the part that, you know, when you're the quarterback, you know, it's as close to playing an individual position or playing an individual sport, excuse me, as you get in football. Maybe you could say that about DB, but not really, because quarterback touches the ball every single time he's on the field. It's just what it is. 99.8% of the time, he's the person that touches the ball, unless you're in Wildcat or something like that. So how he throws, you know, like people, like it should just happen. Like, well, but sports isn't like that. Like you're not always on. And in addition, there's people running at you. They're at your feet. How Carson Beck seems very comfortable in a pocket. He's cool with it. And by the way, and this is off the top of my head, he had 7 rushes for 43 yards. So he's not getting sacked. And if he is, he's making up for it. So he's cool with the chaos around him. And he can just slide right up. There's a bit, I don't have the book with me because I'm traveling right now, as you can see. There's a beautiful image in Double Dogs of Carson stepping up in the pocket, throwing the ball against Vandy. And it's he just sometimes when the pass rush comes a particular way, the middle just opens up. And whereas a lot of guys would possibly just run because it's there, and there's nothing wrong with that. This guy's trying to throw it 15 yards down the field to say, "Oh, it's there, 15 yards." Let's just do that. I think that we become prisoners often. We all do this, me included, of what we've just seen. We're prisoners of the moment. This guy has a lot of skill. I suspect that he will be drafted higher than Stetson Bennett. That's my suspicion. But we're going to have to see. But at this moment right now, everybody is in the lavender haze that has been what Georgia's been lately. 23 teams going to be different than the 22 and 21 teams. Those teams were super talented, particularly on defense. This team is not as gifted as those were. They're going to have to win in different ways. But their quarterback is different too. He's not older, no, and he doesn't make plays with his feet. But he may be more precise with certain things in terms of the throwing game. And they have weapons at receiver that's deep and different, kind of. Well, this has not changed, but Ladd is not, Brock is not, Dominic Lovett. So they have different types of guys. And I think, when you look at where this is at and so forth, and Carson Beck has a tremendous opportunity to write his own story, but it couldn't have happened without what's been building over the last probably really 18 to 20, 24 months when it was like, all right, listen, Stetson won it. Stetson's coming back. Okay, am I going to transfer? The answer to that was no. And by the way, the answer to that was no. This is not a new no. Like the folks that I know that are close to Beck or whatever, read between lines, the Beck world has always felt like Georgia's the place to grow, get better. It's been the place to be. It is the place to be. So him transferring, I'm not saying I don't know what happens all the time, but it's not new that the transfer was kind of just like not a thing. Secondly, start tangent on that. Secondly, when Stetson came back, Carson Beck had the capability to say, okay, he's not coming back after that. So I know that if I work right now, I can have my time in the spotlight. I can work for my time. Mac Jones, 1 year national championship. When you think about uh, first name, I can't remember, last name Coker, Jake Coker, 1 year national championship. I mean, it's not abnormal for guys to have 1 year national championships as starters. It it was more common in the past because we've been taken over by Stetson Bennett, Joe Burrow, Trevor, Deshaun Watson, whoever won the national championship for Alabama in 17. they were both multi-year starters. But the 1 year starter as an older guy at a school, that has happened in the past. That used to be more common, I guess you could say. Like when Mike Bobo led Georgia to the national championship in '97. So I really should not be sarcastic sometimes because these are just sometimes just having fun and jokes. But I mean, Mike in '97 and that whole group, that was an older group. That was Mike and Robert Edwards and Hines Ward and like all Corey Allen, all these guys. These were older guys. This is not as gifted a group as the last 2 years at Georgia. They're not without talent though. They're not without talent. No, let's not confuse the issue. Will they put 11 guys in the league or whatever? I don't know. But they'll probably put 8. So Carson's got a lot to work with here. And this is a good day for Georgia. Now, a year from now, well, I don't know what will happen a year from now. I don't think there's like a linear thing from a year from now, but that's what now is for Brock Vandagriff, Gunnar Stockton, and Dylan Raiola and Bacluzzi. I mean, all these guys, they're going to have their chance. But the guys on campus right now are getting the best attention, period. And they're going to be the ones in pole position. We'll see what happens. Carson Beck starting at Georgia. Tell me what you think down below.